long. Yeah.
Good, right.
So maybe you can tell us about when you came back to Australia,
Yes.
how you got involved in the YCW here, or first in the parish, I guess.
Yes. Well, I was definitely involved in the YCW without the parish priest knowing it, because I was asked to do rosary and benediction on the Friday night after I arrived in the parish.
Which parish was that?
That was Woodville Albert Park, and after I went to take my vestments off in the sacristy, a girl came in. Her name was Eileen Hensky, and she said, "I've come to do the gospel, Father." And I didn't know what the gospel was really, and so we sat down and I did the gospel. And then as she was leaving, she said, "Aren't you coming to our meeting?" I said, "Yes." "Do I have to? Is it my job?" She said, "It is." The other curate had been their chaplain. And so I went in for the first meeting of NCGM and YCWs.
What year would that have been?
1950, just before Christmas. And that became then my part of my pastoral work. I had that NCGM. There was a big YCW going in the same parish, and I went to their meetings. And then in another part of the parish, there was set up the same thing. So I had four YCW and NCGM groups working, and that, I don't know who it was who would have said that you must see the leaders between meetings, and especially the one that's preparing the gospel. So these four young people would come to see me every sometime during the week, and it was just invaluable for a young priest to be talking about Christ and the gospel with these young workers. There were very few of them in those days who were very educated. They'd all had jobs, mainly office jobs. The girls and the boys had very different sort of jobs. For example, there was a wonderful horse training faculty down in the next parish, and a number of them got jobs there. It was Hayes, people would recognise Hayes and his training of horses. He was a very good man, and he helped these boys. But then they'd have other jobs. A lot of them were apprentices, boys, and someone must have said, "Now, don't just discuss the gospel with them, but rather discuss them and their lives." And I did that. I'd always start by saying how things at home and how things at work and that sort of thing. And even if it was left a small time for the gospel, I'd say, after a while I'd say, "Well, you know how to do the gospel." But it was very, very moving, and it was wonderful to hear the way that they would apply our Lord, His teaching, to themselves too.
And each group every week was using the program from
Yes.
the sort of published program or the monthly program?
The NCGM was Beacon called. I don't know what the boys' one was. I suppose it was YCW.
I can't remember what the boys' one was called, but yeah.
Yeah, they changed a bit over the years. And so that went on in various modifications of it, and changing a bit how we would do it, and being less available in the next 6 years. So I had 6 years in that place, and one of the things that was typical typical of Woodville Albert Park was that there were a big proportion of people coming to live there who were
migrants?
Yeah, they were migrants, but they were displaced persons.
Oh, okay.
Displaced persons from Germany. And so they were people that had been driven out of their countries by the Russians and the Germans often, and they were Polish, Ukrainian, Croatian, and then even Hungarian, and other Slavonic people, and they settled in a place called Royal Park, which was where there was cheap land, and they built their own houses, and we spent a lot of time, the priests, in also trying to encourage them. They all had jobs because they worked for the government for 2 years when they came out. You might have heard about that.
Yeah, my father also, yes.
Did he? Yeah. Well, I don't know how he felt about it, but it seemed that it wasn't a bad thing for these displaced persons.
Yeah.
What country did you come from?
He was from Czechoslovakia. He actually came and worked on picking grapes for a while,
Yes,
but then finally he found a job here in Adelaide, actually, working for, is it ICI?
Yes.
Is there an ICI plant here in Adelaide?
Yeah, that's right, yes.
So once he found a job in his profession,
Yes.
he asked for permission to go and do that, and yeah, they let him go because...
Wasn't it a natural way Australia did that job with setting them? They were all troubled out.
That's right, it's crazy. Anyway, whatever. We'll discuss that later.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So can I just ask you maybe to come back to the YCW experience? So that was your parish experience. What about at the diocesan and possibly national level? How did you get involved at those levels?
Well, in 1956, when I was in my, or 55, 56, the Archbishop came down and asked me if I would become the diocesan chaplain to YCW and NCGM.
Who was the Archbishop at that time?
Archbishop Beovich.
Right.
Beovich.
And he was a supporter of the YCW, was he?
Oh yes, but not a strong supporter of it. I don't think he really understood exactly what we're doing, but he'd always go to the meetings and have a few words to say to them, and they liked him.
Okay.
Yeah, which is
right.
important. But so that I had a big job in doing my parish work and the YCW as well, and at a national, state level, I should say, or diocesan level, and and then Archbishop Gleeson was appointed auxiliary bishop about this time, and so I'm pretty sure that it was he who suggested that I be moved from the parish of Woodville to the cathedral, but he and I both agreed that I'd keep the YCW diocesan position. This was largely the executive who'd been elected in turn by the parishes, and so that while I wouldn't have seen all the parishes, perhaps not the majority of them, but I always met with this executive who were in contact with the parishes. They used to have to give a report of the 2 or 3 parishes they were in contact with once a month, and and once again I was really challenged by these blokes, and you'd be getting towards the ones that we knew. They just come into town and they'd go to this meeting, which was a report. We never went just reporting on the branches, how they were going, but we also always did the items of interest and the facts of action, and kept up with the inquiry, the common inquiry team. I think that probably I was very much keeping to the publications, the leaders' publications. I thought that and some priests would disagree with me too, but I think right through to the time I was appointed bishop, I was very much you know, keeping to the program and the inquiry that they were doing at the time.
So actually you were diocesan chaplain for something like 10 years, would that be right? 10, 12?
Yes, about 12.
12 years in fact.
Yes, although there was an interim period when Bob Shanahan was chaplain.
Okay. And you were chaplain for both boys and girls,
Yeah.
YCWs, together?
Mm.
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll just stop that there for a minute.